Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna. I'm a clinical psychology doctoral candidate. Here on this channel, we talk about real life applications to psychology. If you're new here, I do hope you stay, hit like and subscribe. I asked you in a community post a week or two ago what you guys wanted to see when I hit 100K, and you said by far the most liked comment was tips for how to be more confident. And we're not at 100K quite yet, but it's coming up, so I'm just gonna give it to you a little early because I'm running out of ideas right now. I do think if this is a new topic for you, you should watch my self-esteem video. That kind of gives an introduction to what healthy self-esteem and confidence are, because remember, confidence is not arrogance. True confidence is kind of the midpoint between, at least this is how I understand it, the midpoint between covert narcissism and grandiose narcissism. Covert narcissism, you really have pretty poor self-esteem. You think of yourself as very small and therefore you sometimes lash out or act like a victim. Grandiose narcissism is more when you think of yourself as the best person in the world who can do no wrong. So healthy self-esteem is really neither of these. Healthy self-esteem is somewhere in the middle where you don't think you're the best person in the world, you don't think you're the worst person in the world. You're just a person that generally has a positive view of themselves, but also doesn't put other people down. It is security in the self, but not belief that the self is superior to others. So let's just go into the tips. And these are 5 mindsets for how to be confident. But in number 1, it's also going to give you a lot of pointers on how to be liked while doing so. So the first tip I have is if you're someone who's worried about physical appearance, meaning your body image is preventing you from overall holistic confidence, understand this. Personality is hugely important for attractiveness. So what I mean by this is confidence, spans a lot of different areas. Maybe you're confident in your intellectual skills, but not in your emotional regulation skills. Maybe you're confident with your looks, but not with your social skills. There can be a lot of different constellations of how we evaluate ourselves in different arenas. But if specifically you're worried about your physical appearance, there's a way around that. You can actually be confident and in that way be also more physically attractive. It's been proven in so many polls. The most attractive trait a person can have is confidence. So you have to let go of this idea that confidence will come once you're attractive. It's quite the opposite. Your attractiveness will skyrocket when you master confidence. Confidence will not come when you simply change your appearance. I was recently looking at, my old YouTube account, just like the one I watch for fun where I don't post anything. And I realized that there were a lot of YouTubers who I used to follow, let's say 5 to 10 years ago, who I haven't in a while. And it was kind of sad, to be honest, because a lot of them had changed. They were people who were funny, clever, good video editors, and it seemed like recently everything's kind of taken a turn towards just appearances, everyone kind of looking the same with fillers and surgery. And I found myself kind of feeling bad, not because of some moralistic high horse, do whatever you want, but because the lack of confidence was tangible. These were girls who, like I said, were funny, talented, bright, and now their lives seem completely dominated by modifying every aspect of their appearance. Their videos are all about that. Their audience is now following them for that and that alone. It's just kind of an unfortunate vicious cycle. When you put an excessive amount of work into your appearance, you come off as insecure. And I didn't realize this until relatively recently because I'm a person that likes to dress up. I like to play with makeup. I like to play with outfits. I like to do my nails. I like to sometimes do my hair. But I realized that there's a time and place. I used to go to class every day with winged liner, and yeah, I love that kind of like Brigitte Bardot look. But I also didn't realize that it made me look like I was trying to prove something. Because really, someone who has other things going on in their life doesn't need to take every opportunity to go over the top. You don't need to dress in a ball gown at school if you're going to a ball later this week. My point here is not stop trying to put work in your appearance. Like I said, I think it can be really fun to express yourself that way. My point is that you have to abandon this notion that you're going to gain confidence through your physical appearance and instead focus on your personality. And the physical appearance stuff, do that for fun. Don't do that out of insecurity. So here are some personality habits that you need to master to make people feel more attracted to you. And when I say attractive, I mean in any sense of the word. It could be as a partner, but it could also be as a friend, as a family member. Attraction is really about magnetism, not just physicality. It's about which family member do I connect the most to? Which one am I most attracted to talking to at the dinner table? The first tip I have for how to get people to be kind of attracted to you is make people feel heard, make them feel special, make them feel like they're the only person in the room. Really be present with them in the moment. In college, I had figured out kind of this popularity secret of a guy in my friend group. When he was speaking to someone, he made them feel like they were the most special person in the world. And of course, in his case, it turned out that it was all rather contrived and he didn't mean it. So that's another component, is you have to be authentic. If you're ever zoning out while someone's talking, truly ask yourself, what's unique or special about this person or this interaction? What do I admire about this person? 5 hours from now, when I'm doing something else, what will I look back on fondly about this interaction? And then start to appreciate that. Don't just zone out or charm people or manipulate them into feeling good about themselves. Let it come from a place of genuineness and authenticity. My second tip for getting people to be attracted to you is to say just a little bit more than you need to. I learned this at interviews, and I also learned it in DBT. Just give a little more detail than what the person is asking for. At interviews, I used to just very matter-of-factly answer the question, when really they're not just asking for an answer to this question. They're asking to see, how can you think about situations? How can you think about clients? Can you talk? Can you introspect? Can you really reflect on things? You're not going to really showcase that if you just simply answer the question. So outside of the interview setting, if you're talking to someone and they ask you, how are you? Just saying, good, how about you, may feel for them insincere and superficial. But if you respond, I'm doing good, happy to be here. It was a beautiful weekend and the wife and I went up to the lakefront, and what about yourself? The other person is more likely to feel comfortable. They have something to latch onto in their response. You've revealed something about you. They feel like they know you better. They feel like they can maybe reciprocate with some of their own disclosure. And you're more likely to get them to like you, because the more familiar someone is with you, the more that tends to lead to liking. Another tip for getting people to be attracted to you is to emanate warmth. Smile with your eyes, not with your mouth. I learned this in neuropsychology, but when we smile a fake smile, and really that's just with your mouth, it uses a completely different neural pathway than when we smile genuinely and it shows in our eyes. Which I think is interesting, that nowadays we can't really fake smile. We might think we're fake smiling, but if you're wearing a mask, the other person can't really tell. Another way to emanate warmth is to make use of touch to make people feel closer. Of course, appropriately. Exercise judgment here, and if you're not sure if someone is gonna consent or be comfortable with being touched, just veer on the safe side. But something I've noticed is that when I meet a new friend, and I'm usually talking about people of the same gender for me, because I think if it were a man doing that to me, that would make me feel a little more uncomfortable. But generally, when I meet a new friend and they gently place their hand on my shoulder, or are really eager to hug me when I walk through the door, or they talk to me closely and aren't afraid to look really in my eyes, I feel much closer to them. It makes me like them more. So implement that. I feel like I'm just giving you pointers on how to manipulate me. And another way to emanate warmth is to speak in a gentle, calm, safe voice. When I was growing up, I would get a lot of stray cats coming into our yard, and I got really good at taming them and getting them to trust me and taking it really slow, inching a little closer, but not scaring them off, not making any loud noises, not making any fast movements. And I kind of think of interactions with people in the same way. You have to let yourself known as someone that can be trusted, someone that's not going to break those boundaries, someone that they can really be safe with. And one way to do that is to emanate kind of a soothing serenity. And lastly, my last tip for how to get people to like you or to be attracted to you is make people laugh. It diffuses the tension if things are escalating and makes people feel more comfortable. It lets people show their true selves. Like, I recently had a Zoom interview and my cat was messing around in the back, and I was trying really hard not to look, but I could hear her doing something. And at some point, my interviewer pointed it out. He said, "Oh, I can see your cat in the back." And we both kind of burst into laughter, and it shattered this very poised, solemn, serious tone that I had going unintentionally because I was nervous. And it allowed me to show who I truly am, which is someone that loves my cat and thinks she's really silly. So remember, the reason I'm giving you all these tips is not because I think your confidence is going to grow as people like you more. You shouldn't really care what people think about you, and I'll go into that in a second. But the reason is that in placing more attention on making others feel comfortable and appreciated, you're taking away a lot of that self-conscious attention that you place on yourself that makes you look like you're insecure or trying too hard. Think of like a brain surgeon who's incredibly arrogant and pompous. But he's probably not when he's actually performing brain surgery, because right then he has to devote his attention to helping someone else, and in turn he has to stay confident but down to earth, not arrogant and pompous in that moment when he's focused on someone else. So to summarize mindset number 1, don't focus on your appearance, but rather on making the people around you feel good about themselves. Mindset tip number 2. Live according to your values. We feel uncomfortable with ourselves when we're not living up to our own standard. It's the concept of cognitive dissonance, when we believe we're doing one thing or one thing is important to us, but we're really doing something completely different. And it can lead to negative self-talk or feeling embarrassed or self-conscious because you fear you're going to be found out as a hypocrite, or just generally not feeling good about yourself because you unconsciously know that you don't like yourself as a person, which is the most important part. You have to like yourself. So make a list of your values and then assess how you've been living by them and start to fix the things you haven't been living up to. There are tons of lists of values that you can find on the internet. You can look up ACT specifically, ACT, it's a type of therapy and it works a lot with values, but even beyond that, you can definitely find a list of a very comprehensive category of values. But really, I only recommend using those as a jumping off point for creating your own, because a lot of them might be related or they might be named different from how you'd name them. Like, I was looking at a list one time and it was things like excitement, celebration, adventure. And I thought, well, that sounds like one of my values, which is fun, but also they all kind of sound the same. I would really just call it the value of having fun. So I think the most important thing is figuring out your specific constellation of values. Like, I found for myself that I have 5 major values right now. Of course, I have a myriad of others that I consider important, but not necessarily right at the top of my life. But maybe you have 3, maybe you have 10. What are the values that you truly live for? Not just that are important to you, but truly live for. And once you've done that, write down in what ways someone who lives by those values might live. What might they say? What might they do? Like, if one of your values is integrity, you might write down, well, someone with integrity doesn't lie, they don't cheat, they don't manipulate, they don't gossip. And then you evaluate that with your own behaviors and your own actions in mind. Like, maybe you find that while you haven't been lying or cheating, you've been acting a little bit manipulative and gossiping. So maybe what you need to do is to change the subject every time you feel the urge to gossip, or to catch yourself when you feel yourself manipulating someone. And you can recalibrate this every few months or once a year or whatever frequency works for you. Reassess if your values have changed, because it's kind of normal for them to do so. And at different points in your life, see how you're living up to your current standards. How do you expect to feel confident if you don't like yourself as a person? If someone walked in and was breaking every value that you hold dear, no amount of faking it would get you to like them. So don't do that with yourself. Actually make sure that you are liking yourself and living in accordance with your own values. Mindset tip number 3. If you worry that other people will perceive you as nervous or shy or self-conscious, act like they don't. chances are they can't notice, or if they do see that you're awkward or nervous or shy, you're at least not exacerbating your self-consciousness by putting so much attention into that. Act like it's the norm to be a little socially awkward. What makes you more uncomfortable? Someone who's a little quirky, or someone who's a little quirky and seems petrified that you can tell? Probably the latter, right? The more we try to pretend like we're not shy or awkward, the further we dig ourselves into a hole. You have to act like everyone is awkward on some level, because they are, and not judge yourself for it. Like that scene in Mean Girls where Katie says gruel because she was gonna say great and then she started to say cool. What's a more awkward way to address that? Is it blushing and getting all nervous and uncomfortable and trying to explain yourself but really being really awkward about it? Or just laughing self-deprecatingly and saying, oh, I think my brain just malfunctioned, I meant great. If there's an awkward moment, truly the best thing to do is to laugh and to not take yourself or others so seriously. Multiple times on this channel, I've messed up when talking, and the best ways that I think I've addressed it were not to re-record that sentence and cut out the mistake, but the times when I started just genuinely laughing about it and corrected myself. That shows personality. It shows that you're not devoid of humor. It shows that you don't need to take yourself so seriously. Because someone who takes themselves too seriously doesn't really give off an air of confidence. They actually strike people as quite insecure because they're trying too hard to control other people's perception of them. So what if you make weird hand gesticulations while you talk, or you have trouble making direct eye contact, or you mess up when you speak? The only thing that differentiates a confident Italian gesticulation from an awkward one is the self-assuredness with which Italians use their hands. One of the most socially savvy people I knew in high school almost never made direct eye contact. She always looked slightly to the side of people, but she didn't make a big deal out of it, so other people didn't either. And almost every person in my classes says in front of nearly every sentence when they have presentations. And it's not a big deal. So realize this, you're not that special. You're not that awkward or shy or uncomfortable that everyone in the world can see right through you. We're all awkward to an extent, and we all judge ourselves more harshly than others do. So if you feel awkward, just own it. Owning it is the only thing that will make the awkwardness dissipate. Confidence mindset number 4. Put in the work and aim for the top. The biggest lie I've been told in my career was that I shouldn't go for my dream school or my dream practicum sites because they were too competitive and I wouldn't get in. My undergrad advisor, he was a man who knew very little about me. He had met me on maybe 2 or 3 occasions. And he told me that I shouldn't bother applying to doctorate programs in big cities because too many people wanted to go there and I wouldn't get in. And guess what? I got into a PhD program in Seattle and a PsyD in Chicago. Another example, our cohort was told in my first year of grad school to not apply to too many practicum sites in convenient locations downtown because only the top trainees would get there. So my first year, I didn't even bother to aim high. I only applied to places that were like a train and a bus ride away, places that were an hour away. I didn't even have a car. And I got 4 interviews. My second year, I aimed a little higher and I got 5 interviews. And this year, my third year, I applied solely to very convenient places where I would be thrilled to go to any of them. And I have 6 interviews and they've all gone better than ever. Don't let people who don't even know you or what you're capable of tell you that you don't have a chance at achieving it. You just need to put in the work, get the experiences that you need, learn as much as possible about your field, say yes to opportunities that are going to help you grow, and then you will have every chance at reaching the top of whatever field you're aspiring for. And really, a big component is how much do you want it? Because if you're not reaching high and you're not that excited about the places you want to go, that can show. You have a much greater chance at getting someplace where you're really excited about, someplace that is your number one. And the more experience I've gotten with each practicum site, the more confident I've gotten too. Like my first year when I had imposter syndrome and I felt like everyone else in the program was more qualified than me because they were older, some of them had done masters, it showed. And second year, it was slightly better. I had 1 year of practicum under my belt, but I still lacked some crucial experiences. And when people ask me at interviews, for instance, how I deal with clinical crises, I didn't really have any experiences to pull from. This year, I've had so many valuable experiences at my practicum site. I feel confident in answering whatever question they throw my way. I don't even have to do the flashcards anymore because I feel like I can handle it. They might say, how do you deal with crises now? And I'll talk about 6 crises that I've had, how I handled them, how I do risk assessment, how I contract for safety, how I reassess as treatment progresses. You really need to put in the work and gain all the learning experiences that you need, but don't ever let someone discourage you from going for the top. Don't ever let them say, are you sure you want to only apply to places downtown? What if you don't get in? No, do not accept a 2nd or 3rd tier position in any facet of your life. It could be work, but it could be love, it could be friendship, it could be something else. Because then you'll be taking away a spot that could have been taken by a 1st tier position that could have worked out. Like if you surround yourself with friends who treat you poorly, you could be missing out on some truly valuable friendships. If you aim for jobs that you think you'll get, not the ones you actually want, you'll end up missing your dream job. If you settle for a relationship that doesn't make you happy, you'll miss out on the love of your life. So yes, do the work, but then aim for the top. And don't let anyone make you feel like you're not good enough for it. And lastly, confidence mindset tip number 5, stop caring what other people think about you. Like I said, the only person whose opinion of you matters is yourself. There is no single person in this whole wide world who is liked by everyone. There's simply no way to avoid that some people are going to dislike you, and we cannot possibly spend time worrying about things we can't control. If we tried to please everyone, we would never be anyone. We would try to be assertive sometimes and passive other times, bubbly around some people and quiet around others. That's no way to live our lives. The only way to live our lives is in a way that is like ourselves and in a way that makes us like ourselves. If making this YouTube channel has taught me anything, it's to grow thicker skin. One time I was talking to my dad about some of the comments I get, and he said something along the lines of, if you're not ruffling some feathers, then you're doing something wrong. And this is especially true online, where people say things they would never say to my face, and any publicity is good publicity. But even beyond the cesspool of internet haters, this is still true. Don't care what people say about you if they don't even have the guts to say it to your face, and realize that people who never receive criticism aren't really doing much to receive praise either. Think about it, the only way to completely avoid criticism is to dig yourself into a bunker, to not interact with anyone, not come up with any original ideas, not go for your dreams, not say or do anything. What way to live is that? But if instead you want to do something brave, you're probably going to get pushback, possibly from the right people. Sometimes when you do something brave, you should get pushback because there are people who want to see you fail. Don't you think Rosa Parks got pushback for demanding equality? Don't you think every award-winning writer has a myriad of critics too? Don't you think the first woman to wear pants was shamed for it? Of course. So don't let haters stop you from taking risks or being confident. And also, don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. Before you beat yourself up for not managing to make them like you, ask yourself, do you even like them? Those were my 5 mindset tips for confidence and also kind of being liked along the way. So hope this was helpful. Let me know which one of these is most helpful for you, or if you start to implement them, I want to see how that goes for you. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you soon.